Okay, I have a few rapid-fire questions for you to kick things off.
Yeah.
Be honest. Have you ever tried, I mean really tried, to kiss your own elbow? Or, here's another one, have you ever found yourself, say, frantically eating fruit under a table at the stroke of midnight?
I can safely say no to the fruit, though I've definitely seen the videos of that online. As for the elbow, I think everyone has tried that at least once. In private, usually it just results in a strained shoulder and zero success.
Fair enough. Or maybe, just maybe, you felt the urge to count exactly 50 white horses before you go to sleep.
Right, and if you answered yes to any of those, you're either extremely eccentric or, and this is what we're digging into today, you are deeply invested in the global and often pretty irrational search for romance.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at a really entertaining stack of research. We're exploring love-related superstitions from all around the world. And let me tell you, when you look at the anthropology of love, logic it completely leaves the building.
It really does. What we have here is a collection of articles, some historical notes, and cultural studies that detail the absolute lengths people will go to across so many different cultures and centuries, all to find or attract, or even just, dream about a soulmate.
It's like a mission, isn't it? The mission for today is to explore this weird, wonderful human behavior. Because love makes us do some irrational things. But looking at this list, some of these are wild.
They are, but what I appreciate about this specific stack of sources is that it doesn't just, point and laugh. It actually offers a fascinating look at why we do this. It's all about how humans try to control the uncontrollable. Romance is unpredictable. It's scary. So different cultures have invented these very specific mechanisms, almost like algorithms for luck, to try and wrestle some certainty out of all that chaos.
Algorithms involving grapes and brooms and body parts. I love it. Okay, let's unpack this. We've organized the research into 3 main buckets so we don't get lost in the madness. We have the active rituals, where you really have to do the work. Then we have the genetic lottery stuff about physical traits. And then the social minefield, where you just have to avoid bad luck.
A solid structure for a chaotic topic.
Okay, let's start with the active rituals. These are the ones where you actually have to perform a task to get the love you want. And the first one on our stack is a personal favorite because it combines romance with a potential choking hazard.
You're talking about the Spanish grape dash?
The Spanish grape dash. So most people know about New Year's resolutions. But in Spain, and our sources say this has actually gone global thanks to TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, it's everywhere now.
There's a very specific tradition for single people.
That's right. It takes place on Nochevieja, New Year's Eve. And the superstition is that when the clock strikes midnight, you have to eat 12 grapes.
But not just, sitting on the couch casually snacking. The sources really emphasize the location.
Yes, and this is the key detail for the love version of this tradition. You have to be under the table.
Under the table. Just imagine the scene. It's New Year's Eve. Everyone is celebrating, popping champagne. And you are huddled under the dining table with a bowl of fruit.
And there's a time limit. That's the catch. You have to eat all 12 grapes, one for each stroke of the clock, before 12:01 a.m. So you have, 60 seconds, often less, to get them all down.
And if you succeed,
the superstition says you will find true love in the new year.
And if you fail, you're just...
Yes.
You're a person with a mouthful of grape pulp sitting on the floor with everyone else is kissing.
Pretty much. But there's actually some interesting history here that the sources point out. While the under-the-table part is a modern kind of social media-driven twist for singles,
Yeah.
the 12 grapes tradition itself, it dates back to around 1909.
Oh, really? So it's not some ancient folklore?
Not exactly ancient, no. The sources mentioned that vine growers in Alicante had a massive surplus of grapes that year. They basically had too much inventory and needed a way to move the product. So they just invented the idea of lucky grapes for New Year's as a marketing gimmick.
That is brilliant. So a century-old marketing campaign to sell excess fruit has evolved into this viral dating ritual.
Exactly. But psychologically it works because of that frantic nature. It kind of equates the struggle for love with a physical endurance test. And seeing it spread globally suggests that people are really hungry for these communal rituals. We want a physical action to take to solve an emotional problem. We want to work for it.
Literally hungry in this case. Okay, so let's say you've survived the grapes, you're in the new year, but maybe you're not in Spain. Maybe you're in Texas.
Right. Shifting gears to the United States. And this is a fascinating twist on a very common sleep aid. We all know counting sheep, right? The universal cure for insomnia.
So boring. Who cares about sheep?
Well, according to this old Texas superstition we found in the folklore archives, if you are actively seeking a life partner, you should start counting sheep and start counting horses.
Specifics matter here, though.
They do. They have to be white horses. And the magic number is 50.
50 white horses. That actually sounds harder than sheep. Sheep are, they're uniform. White horses, that requires some visualization. I feel like my brain would drift off before I even hit 20.
That's the discipline of love. You have to stay focused. It implies that love requires vigilance. But here is where it gets really interesting, the payoff. The superstition claims that if you successfully count these 50 white horses before falling asleep, the very first person you shake hands with afterward will want to marry you.
The first person you shake hands with. That seems incredibly risky. What if it's your boss? Or the mail carrier?
Or a stranger you really don't get along with? It puts a tremendous amount of weight on that first social interaction of the day.
I can just imagine someone waking up, having counted the horses, and then walking around with their hands in their pockets, just dodging people until they see their crush. No, sorry, can't shake your hand. I'm saving this for later.
It kind of creates a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. You become hyper-aware of who you touch and interact with. It forces you to be intentional about your social circle the next day, which, ironically, is probably good dating advice anyway.
So we've got frantic eating, we've got mental gymnastics with horses. Let's go to Old England. This one feels a bit more, witchy, a bit more folkloric.
Yes, this is an old custom centered around St. Valentine's Day. It's designed to help you dream of your future spouse.
And it involves bay leaves.
Bay leaves, usually reserved for soups and stews, right? To add that savory flavor.
Exactly. But in this ritual, you're not cooking. You're pinning them to your pillow. And again, like the horses, the instructions are very precise. You can't just throw a handful of leaves on the bed.
Right, the source was very specific. 5 leaves total. 5 leaves, you pin 1 on each corner of the pillow and 1 right in the center.
So you're essentially sleeping on a salad.
In a way, yeah. But look at the geometry of it, the 4 corners in the center. It feels very ceremonial, almost like casting a circle or a mandala. The idea is that this specific arrangement on Valentine's Day triggers a vision of the person you're meant to marry.
I wonder if the crunching sound of the dry leaves wakes you up. But I guess that's the price you pay for prophetic dreams. Is there, a historical reason for bay leaves specifically? Why not basil or mint?
Well, bay leaves have been associated with Apollo in Greek mythology, the god of prophecy. The oracles at Delphi were often associated with burning bay leaves, so there's a lineage there. You're basically asking for a prophetic vision, a divine glimpse into the timeline.
It connects to that universal desire to just know. We spend so much time guessing, is this the one? These rituals, counting horses, pinning leaves, they promise a shortcut, like a peek at the answer key.
Exactly. It addresses the anxiety of the unknown. We hate uncertainty, especially in love.
Speaking of peeking at the answer key, this next one from Germany gave me actual chills. It's less rom-com and a little more gothic horror.
I know which one you're talking about, the Christmas Eve mystery.
Yes. So in Germany, Christmas Eve isn't just about gifts and cozy fires.
No. For the single and superstitious, there is a ritual where you stand in the open doorway of your house. You reach your hand backward out into the dark.
And you're supposed to feel the hair of your loved one.
That's the belief. You reach back and your fingers brush against hair.
That is terrifying. If I reached back into the dark and felt hair, I wouldn't think true love. I'd think burglar or ghost.
It is remarkably sensory, almost ghostly, like you said. But anthropologically, think about the setting. You are standing in a doorway.
A transition point.
Exactly. We call this a liminal space. You are between the safety of the home and the unknown of the outside world. That is a perfect metaphor for the transition from being single to being in a relationship. It's scary. It involves reaching out into the void and hoping someone is there.
That's deep. And also very spooky. I think I'm staying inside with my bay leaves. Thank you very much.
Probably safer. But it shows how different cultures view the search for love. Some see it as a game, like the grapes, some as a dream, like the leaves, and some as a frightening venture into the dark.
So those are the rituals where you have to do something. You have to eat, count, pin, or reach. But our sources also highlight a whole category of love, luck, that you have absolutely no control over. This is the born with it category.
Right, physical traits and genetic luck. This is where the superstitions get a little unfair, honestly. It moves from effort to destiny.
Totally unfair.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the elbow test. This comes from the USA.
The elbow test. Now, for anyone listening, unless you are driving, try this right now. Try to kiss your own elbow.
I'm doing it. I look ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I can't get anywhere near it. My arm just doesn't bend that way.
And that is the reality for most people. It is a physical impossibility for the majority of the population due to, the length of the upper arm bone versus the flexibility of the shoulder socket. But if you are one of the rare few who can do it,
If you are the chosen one.
the superstition says it's not just a weird party trick. It signifies that you can get any partner you wish.
The source said, and I'm quoting this, one elbow kiss equals a lifetime of happiness.
A lifetime.
That is such a high return on investment for such a silly action.
It is. And what's fascinating here is that, unlike the grapes or the horses, you can't practice. You can't really get better at kissing your elbow unless you dislocate something, which I don't recommend. It's purely genetic flexibility.
It's predetermined. You're either born lucky in love or you're born with normal stiff arms like the rest of us.
Exactly. It frames love as a destiny written right in your anatomy. It's kind of a modern playground form of physiognomy, that old pseudoscience of judging character or future by physical features.
Speaking of anatomy and judging character, let's jump over to Korea. This one is about beauty marks. And this is really interesting because it shows how these superstitions can shift over time.
Yes, this is a great example of cultural evolution. So traditionally in Korean physiognomy-based reading, having a beauty mark or mole near your mouth was significant.
But not necessarily in a good way, right?
Well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, people with a mark near the mouth are seen as very persuasive, charming, talkative, but the superstition also warns that they are likely to be unfaithful partners.
So it's the player mark.
Essentially, it indicates a lack of virtue or loyalty. Unfaithful is the specific word used in the texts. It suggests a person who uses their mouth, their charm, to deceive.
But here's where it gets really interesting, the modern twist.
Right. You'd think if there's a superstition that says, this mark means I'm a cheater, people would try to hide it with concealer or get it removed. But the expert notes highlight that young people in Korea are now drawing these marks on.
You're drawing them on.
For aesthetic appeal, they're completely disregarding the old warning about infidelity and just embracing the look.
There is such a power move. It's like, I don't care if grandma thinks this means I'm unfaithful, it looks cute.
It really questions the power of the superstition itself. Is the fear of infidelity less powerful than the desire for beauty? Or has the superstition just, lost its teeth?
It's a fascinating shift, almost like reclaiming a scarlet letter and turning it into a beauty trend.
I love that. It's like reclaiming the bad luck. Okay, moving on. We've done work for it. We've done born with it. Now we have to talk about the rules, the don't mess it up category. Because apparently social interactions are a minefield of potential romantic disasters.
Oh, absolutely. And nowhere are the stakes higher than with the household broom in Mexico.
The Mexican broom. I've heard variations of this in other cultures too, but the source lays it out pretty clearly for Mexico.
It does. The core belief is this. If someone sweeps over your feet with a broom, you're destined to be single forever.
Solo dinners for the rest of your life, as the text says. Just because someone was cleaning, it's such a mundane accident with such a catastrophic consequence.
But wait, it gets worse. The source mentioned an escalation.
Yes, in some households, the superstition evolved. It wasn't just that you'd be single. If someone sweeps your feet, it was believed you might go to jail.
From single to incarcerated, that is a steep slope.
It is. But symbolically, think about what a broom does. It sweeps things away. Dirt, dust, trash. So if it sweeps your feet, it's symbolically sweeping away your luck or your potential or your freedom. It's treating you like refuse.
That makes sense in a twisted way. But luckily there is a remedy. And this is the part that always makes me laugh about superstitions. The very specific cure.
To reverse the bad luck, you have to spit on the broom.
Of course. You have to spit on the broom.
Immediately.
It sounds gross, but does that have a historical basis? Or is it just about disrespecting the broom?
Actually, yes. Spitting is an ancient apotropaic act. That's a fancy anthropological word for warding off evil. In many cultures, spitting is believed to expel the bad luck or the curse right away. So it's a visceral reaction. You swept me, I spit on your tool. It breaks the spell.
I'm just picturing a nice family dinner. Someone is tidying up, they accidentally hit a foot, and suddenly everyone is yelling, spit on it, spit on it.
It certainly keeps the household dynamic interesting.
Okay, from brooms to blooms, let's talk about Russia and the serious business of flowers.
This is less of a quirky superstition and more of a really serious social code. If you are dating in Russia or giving a gift to a Russian partner, you need to know math.
Specifically, evens and odds.
Correct. You must never, ever give an even number of flowers to a partner.
Because even numbers are 4.
Fumerals. Even-numbered bouquets, 2, 4, 6, are strictly reserved for mourning. So if you show up to a date with 12 roses, which is a classic romantic gesture in the US or UK and Russia, that is a morbid mistake.
Wow, so you're basically saying, I'm mourning our relationship, or here is a symbol of death.
Exactly. Odd numbers represent affection and life. Even numbers represent the end of life, completion, closure. The circle is closed.
And there was a color warning too, right?
Yes, the source mentions to be cautious about yellow flowers. While in some places yellow means friendship, in Russian flower language, they are often associated with infidelity, separation, or even a funeral. So, odd numbers, and maybe steer clear of yellow if you want to be safe.
Good to know. Don't be the guy who brings 12 yellow roses. You're basically breaking up with them and burying them at the same time.
A total disaster. And this is a good reminder for our listeners. Superstition isn't just about magic, it's about cultural literacy. Making that mistake isn't unlucky because of ghosts. It's unlucky because you've offended your partner's cultural norms. You've failed to learn their language.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Let's finish this tour with a wedding tradition. We're going to Egypt, and this involves pinching.
The Egyptian pinch. This takes place at weddings.
Okay, walk us through it.
The tradition is that female guests will pinch the bride's knees.
The knees, specifically.
The knees, and the logic here is delightful. It's tied to a saying, I'll pinch your knee to get married the next Friday.
The next Friday. That is a very aggressive timeline.
It is. It's not someday. It's next week.
So what's the mechanism here? Why pinching?
Anthropologists call this contagious magic or sympathetic magic.
Hmm.
The idea is that the bride is just radiating marriage energy or luck. She is the center of the event. By making physical contact, by pinching, you are siphoning off a little bit of that luck for yourself. You're conducting a luck transfer.
It sounds a little painful for the bride, to be honest. 100 guests pinching your knees.
It might be. But if it means all your friends get married next Friday, maybe it's worth the bruising. It reinforces that community bond.
Right.
We are all in this together, sharing the luck.
So we've looked at this whole stack. We've got herbs and shoes, which was mentioned in our intro notes, lemon peels on headboards, pinching knees, spitting on brooms. When you step back and look at this as an expert, what do you see? Is there some unified theory here?
You know, if we connect this to the bigger picture, whether you are rubbing a lemon peel on your headboard or wearing your pajamas inside out, the common thread is hope combined with agency.
Agency.
Yes. Finding the one is a source of massive anxiety. It involves what psychologists call a locus of control problem. We feel like we have no control over who likes us or when we meet them. It feels random. These rituals, they range from the simple to a completely illogical, but they shift the locus of control back to us.
They make us feel like we're doing something.
Exactly. If I eat these grapes, I have a plan. If I pin these leaves, I'm taking action. It turns the passive waiting for love into an active ritual. It lowers cortisol. It gives us a sense of purpose. It tells the brain, I am working on the problem.
And even though logic tells us, hey, kissing your elbow has nothing to do with your romantic future, the motivation is just. It's universally human. We just want connection.
We do, and we're willing to look a little silly to find it.
I love that. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the weird world of love and luck.
But before we go, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We talked about the Korean beauty mark, how a symbol of bad luck became a fashion statement.
Right, the unfaithful mark becoming cool.
Think about our current beliefs about love. The red flags or the absolute rules we follow today about, I don't know, texting times or app etiquette or who pays for dinner. If a superstition about infidelity can be transformed into an aesthetic trend, which of our modern serious relationship beliefs might just be considered a retro fashion statement or completely obsolete in the next generation?
That is a provocative thought. Maybe in 50 years, people will be ironically using dating apps just for the vintage aesthetic or laughing at the idea of ghosting.
Who knows? Culture moves fast.
Well, thank you for listening. And remember, watch where you step when someone is sweeping.
Seriously, don't risk it.
See you next time.